And the next presentation is from the municipal court. And after that, we will have a presentation from the mayor's office of Youth Affairs Advisory Council. So I just want to cue everybody up and sure after the one presentation, the next one will be coming. Thank you. We're now waiting for the municipal court. Judge Portis, are you there?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Council President Moore, and members of the committee. This is Chris Portis, Chief Judge for the Municipal Court of Atlanta, and I'm joined this afternoon by Rashida Davis, the Court Administrator and Chief Clerk of Court. We are happy to join you this afternoon to make the court's quarterly report to this committee, and we can move on to the next slide. Beginning with the slide numbered as 2, this slide displays the case totals month over month from March 2020, which is just before we suspended all of our major operations due to COVID. As displayed on the graph, the normal average for monthly cases is right at 15,000 cases per month. Next slide, please. This should be slide number 3. This slide breaks down in percentages the case totals from the previous slide into the different case types that are heard at the court. As usually standard and historical percentages, the misdemeanor traffic section is the largest by volume, and then the remaining case types from misdemeanors of drug-related offenses, ordinance violations, parking appeals, serious traffic, and DUIs round out the remaining portions of cases. Next slide, please. This should be slide number 4. This slide displays case data specifically related to the COVID period from March 2020 to the present. It displays the number of cases received relative to the number of cases being closed for these weekly periods. With the cases that are payable online, coupled with the cases that are still being resolved and closed by individuals through alternative sentencing, we're still able to close cases even though large portions of the operation have been suspended. Next slide, please. This should be slide number 5. This slide compares the data from the previous slide with data from the same period 1 year ago. For the period of March through June of last year, an average of 19,000 cases per month were closed. As you can see in the comparison with the months for 2020, as a result of COVID, those numbers are down to an average of 4,700 cases per month from March through June. Next slide, please. This should be slide number 6. This is for the period of March through the present. Again, this is a snapshot of where we are now during this COVID period. And this slide shows the relative types of cases received. And this is still in keeping with the historical trends where traffic is the predominating case type. Next slide, please. The slide that you should be seeing is the slide that is numbered as 7. This slide displays the historical trend of failure to appears or FTAs from March 2017 through March of 2020. During the COVID period from March 13th through now, there are no FTAs, and all outstanding FTAs have been temporarily suspended, but this at least gives a snapshot of going as far back as March of 2017, and you can see the historical trend lines as detailed. Next slide, please. This should be slide number 8. This slide shows the number of failure to appears or FTAs that are resolved through our FTA walk-in court for the period of January 2019 to January of 2020. And for that 12-month period, a total of just over 27,000 FTA cases were resolved by walk-in defendants, which averages at about 2,200 FTA resolved cases per month. So in essence, the walk-in court both helps the defendants resolve those cases without delay and penalty, but it also helps the court to avoid backlogs that result from FTAs by consistently and constantly closing those cases. Next slide, please. The slide that you should be seeing now is the slide numbered as 9. This slide shows the proportion of signature bonds and surety bonds for calendar year 2019, and whether from the jail or the courtroom, signature bonds account for 3 out of every 4 bonds, or 75%. Next slide, please. The slide that you should be seeing is the slide numbered as 10. This slide shows the number of bonds so far this calendar year from January 1st to date. The trend and ratio of surety bond to signature bond matches the historical trend from the previous slide of every 3 out of 4 bonds that are issued are signature bonds. Next slide, please. The slide that you should be seeing is the slide numbered as 11. This slide provides a snapshot of customer service by showing the number of calls received and the top 5 questions asked. From January through June of this year, we've received an average call volume of about 8,000 calls per month, and the most commonly question that is asked is, how much is my fine? Followed by, what if I miss my court date? And when is my court date? We like to keep an eye on these trends, number one, because it gives us an idea of where we need to allocate resources, as well as be prepared for the most common questions and issues that individuals may have in interacting with or dealing with their court system. Next slide, please. And that concludes the prepared presentation, and I would be happy to take any questions, concerns,